The sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and gold. The sea shimmered, reflecting the nascent light. A gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and seaweed. It was a scene of tranquility, a deceptive mask hiding the struggle of the village. The village nestled on the coast, a cluster of weather-beaten houses huddled together against the relentless wind. Fishing boats bobbed in the harbor, their nets hanging empty, a testament to the dwindling catches that had plagued them for years. The villagers, hardened by years of hardship, moved with a weary resignation. Liam, a young boy of 10, stood at the edge of the village, his eyes fixed on the vast expanse of the sea. He felt the chill of the morning air on his face, but his gaze remained unwavering. He was a contemplative child, his silence often mistaken for shyness. He carried the weight of the village's struggles in his young heart, the burden evident in his somber expression. Years passed, and Liam blossomed from a pensive child into a sturdy teenager. The weight of responsibility settled upon his young shoulders, heavy and unyielding. He had become his mother's rock, his youthful energy a stark contrast to her weary spirit. They faced each day together, their bond forged in the crucible of shared hardship. Life in the village had grown increasingly desperate. The meager catches barely sustained them. The once vibrant community was now shrouded in an air of despair.
I vow to remain strong for my mother, for myself.
Liam watched as his friends, their faces etched with hopelessness, abandoned their dreams, their spirits crushed under the weight of their circumstances. He toiled alongside the other fishermen, his hands growing calloused, his body hardened by the relentless labor. The sea, once a source of wonder, now represented a constant struggle for survival. Each day was a gamble, a desperate hope for a bountiful catch. Liam felt the pressure mounting, the responsibility for his family's well-being a constant ache in his heart. Liam's youthful optimism began to wane as he witnessed the harsh realities of life in the village. The laughter of children had been replaced by a somber silence. The dreams of a brighter future had faded, extinguished by the relentless grip of poverty.
S1.
Liam felt a growing sense of disillusionment, his spirit slowly crumbling under the weight of despair. He observed the toll that hardship had taken on his mother. Her once vibrant eyes were now clouded with worry. Her hands, roughened by years of toil, trembled with fatigue. Liam's heart ached for her, his love for her fueling his determination to find a way out of their predicament. He yearned for a life beyond the confines of the struggling village, a life where he could provide for his mother, where her laughter would once again grace their humble dwelling. But the reality of their situation was a constant reminder of the insurmountable odds stacked against them. Liam felt trapped, his dreams suffocated by the harsh realities of their existence. Liam's mother, Sarah, was the epitome of resilience. Despite the hardships they faced, she never allowed despair to consume her. Her love for Liam was unwavering, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. She nurtured his dreams, encouraging his spirit, her faith in him a constant source of strength.
I have worked tirelessly, mending nets, cleaning fish, and tending to our small vegetable garden. My hands are never idle.
Sarah instilled in Liam the importance of hard work, honesty, and compassion, values that served as his guiding principles. She shared stories of her own childhood, tales of laughter and joy, reminding Liam that life could be more than their current struggle. She spoke of the importance of hope, of never losing sight of the possibility of a brighter future. Her words were a balm to Liam's soul, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, love and hope could endure. The grip of poverty tightened around the village, its icy fingers squeezing the life out of their dreams. The villagers, once a close-knit community, now looked at each other with suspicion, their desperation breeding distrust. The shared hardship, once a source of unity, now threatened to tear them apart.
I witnessed the erosion of our community, the slow disintegration of our collective spirit. I saw the desperation in the eyes of my neighbors, the fear that gnawed at their hearts.
The once vibrant marketplace, now a shadow of its former self, stood as a grim reminder of their dwindling fortunes. The weight of their circumstances pressed down on Liam, suffocating his spirit.
I felt a growing sense of urgency, a desperate need to find a way to alleviate our suffering. I knew that time was running out, that our situation was becoming increasingly dire.
The thought of his mother, her weary frame burdened by their hardship, fueled his determination to find a solution, no matter the cost. Amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. Whispers of a new factory opening in the nearby town reached the village, a beacon of possibility in their bleak existence.
The promise of steady work, of a regular income, sparked a flicker of excitement in the hearts of the villagers.
Liam saw the hope rekindled in my eyes, the faintest hint of a smile gracing my lips.
I shared her optimism, clinging to the possibility of a brighter future. The factory represented a chance to escape the clutches of poverty, to provide a life of dignity and security for my mother.
He imagined a life where his mother's hands would no longer be roughened by toil, where her brow would be smoothed by peace of mind. He envisioned a future where he could contribute to their well-being, where he could ease her burden. The factory, though a distant hope, offered a ray of light in their darkened world. The hope that the factory had ignited proved to be fleeting.
The journey to the town was arduous, the cost of transportation beyond our meager means.
I watched as my frail frame struggled with the long walk, my hopes dwindling with each step.
Despair, like a suffocating fog, descended upon them once more. Their pleas for assistance fell on deaf ears. The villagers, consumed by their own struggles, offered little more than empty words of encouragement.
The weight of our circumstances pressed down on me, my spirit crumbling under the relentless pressure.
He felt a growing sense of frustration, a surge of anger at the injustice of their situation. The dreams that had sustained him, the hope that had fueled his determination, seemed to evaporate before his eyes. Liam found himself teetering on the precipice of despair, the slippery slope beckoning him towards a path he had never imagined. Driven to the edge by desperation, Liam made a choice that tore at his conscience, a choice born of love and despair.
I decided to rob the bank, the only perceived solution to my family's dire situation. The thought of my mother, her gaunt face etched with worry, fueled my resolve.
The weight of his decision pressed down on him, the moral implications a heavy burden.
I grappled with the knowledge that my actions were wrong, yet the thought of my mother's well-being overshadowed my moral compass.
He knew that this act of desperation could have dire consequences, but he felt trapped, his options limited by their circumstances. He convinced himself that this was the only way to save his mother, to offer her a chance at a life free from suffering. Liam, his young heart heavy with the weight of his choice, prepared to face the unknown, driven by a love that knew no bounds. The decision, once made, became an unshakable resolve.
My youthful innocence replaced by a hardened determination, I set my plan in motion. I walked towards the town, my footsteps echoing my internal turmoil.
The dawn of a new day broke over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of uncertainty. The weight of his choice settled upon his shoulders, a constant reminder of the path he had chosen.
I knew there was no turning back, that my actions would have far-reaching consequences. Yet, I pressed onward, my love for my mother fueling my resolve.
The salty air whipped at Liam's face. The small coastal town was asleep, unaware of the drama about to unfold. Streetlights cast long, eerie shadows. Liam moved like a phantom, his dark clothes blending into the night. He was a shadow, a whisper. His target, the grand old bank on the edge of town. Liam had spent weeks studying the bank's routines, every camera angle, every guard's patrol route, every sensor. He knew the rhythms of the town, the ebb and flow of life, now stilled in the quiet hours. He moved with purpose, every step measured, calculated, no room for error tonight. He reached the back alley, the bank looming over him. The cold brick radiated a sense of impenetrable security. Liam felt a tremor of doubt, a flicker of fear. He pushed it down. There was no turning back now. His life had led him to this moment, this reckless gamble. He pulled out his tools, each one carefully selected, each one familiar to his touch. Lockpicks, a small pry bar, a silenced cordless drill. His heart hammered in his chest. The night seemed to hold its breath. He was alone, facing his destiny. The back door was his first challenge. A heavy steel door with multiple locks. Liam worked quickly, his nimble fingers manipulating the picks. The delicate clicks of tumblers echoed in the quiet alley. Beads of sweat formed on his brow. Time seemed to warp, stretching into an eternity. He felt the last lock give way. The heavy door swung open with a low groan. He slipped inside, entering the bank's darkened interior. The air was thick with the scent of old money, dust, and stale air. He moved through the shadows, a ghost in the stillness. Liam bypassed the motion sensors with practiced ease, his steps precise and silent. He avoided the laser grid by crawling beneath it, his heart pounding against the cold tile floor. He felt a surge of adrenaline. He was in, but the hardest part was yet to come. The vault awaited. The vault stood at the end of a long corridor, a monolith of steel and concrete. It seemed to mock him, daring him to try his luck. The vault door was an intricate puzzle of dials and locking mechanisms. Liam studied it, his mind racing, calculating the combinations, visualizing the inner workings. He began to work, his fingers flying over the dials. He listened intently to the clicks, the subtle vibrations. Years of practice had honed his skills to a razor's edge. He felt a surge of confidence as the first lock clicked open. One by one, he cracked the codes, each success fueling his determination. He could feel the heat of his own body, the sweat trickling down his back. Time blurred, the only reality the intricate dance of his fingers and the metallic symphony of the vault door surrendering to his will. Liam had just cracked the final lock when a noise pierced the silence. Footsteps, heavy and measured, coming down the corridor. He froze, his heart leaping into his throat. He hadn't anticipated anyone being here at this hour. He had planned for every contingency, except this. He peeked through the small opening in the vault door. A security guard, his face illuminated by the beam of his flashlight, was slowly approaching. Liam's mind raced. He had mere seconds to react. There was no time to hide. No way to escape undetected. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. He slipped out of the vault, his body tense, ready to spring. He melted into the shadows, becoming one with the darkness. The guard passed by, oblivious, his footsteps fading into the distance. Liam allowed himself a silent sigh of relief. He had cheated fate, for now. With the guard gone, Liam quickly finished his work. He emptied the contents of the vault into his duffel bag. Cash, bonds, jewelry, all disappearing into the bag's dark depths. It was more than he had imagined, more than he had ever dreamed of possessing. He moved swiftly, retracing his steps, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Every shadow seemed to conceal a threat. Every creak of the building sounded like an alarm. He felt exposed, vulnerable. The thrill of success was quickly replaced by the urge to disappear. He exited the bank the same way he had entered, melting back into the night. He moved with urgency, his senses on high alert. He could taste freedom in the salt air, but he knew he wasn't safe yet. Not until he was far away from this town, from this life. Liam's small apartment was his sanctuary. A cramped space, sparsely furnished, but it was his. He tossed the duffel bag onto the worn couch. The weight of it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. He was a thief, a criminal, but tonight, he felt invincible. He peeled off his clothes, the dark attire feeling like a disguise he could finally shed. Beneath it, he was still Liam, but forever changed. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had crossed a line, a point of no return. He stood under the shower, letting the water wash away the sweat, the grime, the tension of the night. But the feeling of unease lingered. He looked at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. The face staring back at him was a stranger, haunted by shadows and secrets. Sleep was fitful, filled with uneasy dreams. Liam tossed and turned, the events of the night replaying in his mind. Every creak of the building, every siren in the distance, sent a jolt of fear through him. The weight of his actions pressed down on him, heavy and suffocating. He got up, paced the small apartment, trying to outrun his thoughts. He couldn't escape the questions that gnawed at him. Was it worth it? The risk, the guilt, the burden of his secret? What had he done? Who had he become? He looked at the duffel bag, still lying on the couch. It represented a dangerous freedom, a life outside the lines. But it also symbolized his transgression, his betrayal of everything he thought he stood for. The money inside couldn't buy back his peace of mind. Later that day, Liam visited his family. His sister Sarah greeted him with a warm hug, her eyes filled with concern. She had always been his anchor, the one person who saw the good in him, even when he struggled to see it himself. His mother, frail and aged, smiled weakly from her armchair. Her health had been declining, a constant source of worry for Liam. He knew he couldn't help her, not really, not with words, not with empty gestures. He wanted to give her more, a better life, ease her burdens. But the money in the duffel bag felt like a betrayal of their love, a symbol of his own moral decay. He couldn't bring himself to tell them about the heist, about the risks he had taken, about the darkness he had embraced. He felt like a fraud, playing the role of the dutiful son, the caring brother, while hiding a truth that could shatter their world. As Liam walked home that evening, the coastal town felt different. The familiar streets now seemed like a stage set, the friendly faces like masks hiding secrets. He felt like an outsider, a stranger in his own life. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the town. The sky blazed with colors, a fiery spectacle that mirrored the turmoil in his own soul. The dawn of deceit had arrived, casting its long shadow over his life. He was a thief now, a criminal. He had crossed a line, and there was no going back. He was free, but at what cost? The guilt, the fear, the constant threat of exposure, it was a heavy price to pay.